A love across time. The first time Alexander saw her, he felt as if the world had momentarily stopped spinning. The bustling streets of Paris faded into the background. The sound of carriage, wheels and hurried footsteps a mere whisper against the rapid beating of his heart. She stood near a bookstore, her gloved fingers lightly tracing the spine of a worn novel, her emerald eyes scanning the pages with an intensity that fascinated him. For years, Alexander had prided himself on being a man of reason, a scholar of history, a traveler of distant lands. He believed in logic over fate, knowledge over emotions. Yet, in that instant, as he watched the woman turn the pages of her book with delicate care, he felt something he could neither explain nor rationalize. It was as if he had seen her before, not just in passing, but in another life entirely. He forced himself to move forward, to speak, though his voice felt unsteady. "That book," he murmured, gesturing toward the novel in her hands, "is a rare edition. Only a handful exist." She turned to face him, her expression one of mild surprise. Then, a smile gentle but knowing. "Yes," she said, "but I've always believed books find their way to those who need them. Perhaps it was waiting for me." Alexander felt a strange pull, as if her words carried more weight than they should. He had spent his life studying history, but suddenly, he felt as though he were standing in the middle of one story that had begun long before this moment, a century earlier. The year was 1789, and the air in Paris was thick with unrest. The revolution was brewing, and amidst the chaos, a young noblewoman named Eleonore de Vigny found herself torn between duty and desire. She was promised to a man she did not love, a political marriage meant to secure her family's standing in the shifting tides of power. Yet, her heart belonged to another, a scholar, a man of knowledge rather than title. His name was Alexander, and he had met her in a bookstore, drawn to her as if by an invisible thread. "I will come for you," Alexander had sworn one night beneath the moonlight, his voice heavy with desperation. "No matter what happens, I will find you." But fate had other plans. On the eve of their escape, Alexander was taken arrested for treason, accused of conspiring against the monarchy. Eleonore fought to free him, but before she could, the guillotine had claimed him. Heartbroken, she disappeared from the public eye, retreating into solitude. Some whispered that she had died of grief. Others claimed she had vanished into the countryside, living out her days in quiet sorrow. But those who knew her well spoke of something else entirely, a belief she had once whispered to a friend, long before tragedy struck. "I will find him again," she had said, eyes alight with certainty. "Perhaps not in this life, but in another." Paris, 1890. Alexander blinked, shaking off the strange sense of déjà vu that had settled over him. The woman before him, the one with the emerald eyes, watched him curiously. "Are you all right?" she asked softly. He hesitated. "I feel as though we've met before." Her smile was gentle, almost wistful. "Perhaps we have," she said, "in another time." And as she turned the page of her book, Alexander saw, for the briefest of moments, a name inscribed in delicate handwriting on the inside cover. Eleonore de Vigny. A chill ran down his spine. He met her gaze once more, and in that instant, he knew he had found her, just as she had promised. Eternal Whispers of the Heart. Chapter 1. A Chance Encounter. The summer air in Florence was thick with the scent of blooming jasmine. The cobbled streets glowed under the golden light of dusk, as tourists and locals alike wandered past ancient cathedrals and lively piazzas. Isabel Montague had always loved the city. its history wrapping around her like an old, familiar embrace. But tonight, as she sat alone in a quiet cafe near the Arno River, sipping her wine and flipping through the pages of her worn-out journal, she felt the peculiar sense that something or someone was missing. Across the street, Gabriel Laurent watched her with quiet fascination. He had arrived in Florence only that morning, yet the city already felt different from any place he had ever been. He was a historian by profession, a traveler by nature, but as soon as his eyes fell upon Isabel, he knew he had to meet her. When their gazes finally met, time seemed to slow. It wasn't just attraction, it was something deeper, something ancient. Without fully understanding why, Gabriel crossed the street. "Excuse me," he said, his voice steady despite the rapid beating of his heart. "I think I've seen you before." Isabel frowned, tilting her head. "That's impossible," she replied. "I've never met you." Gabriel hesitated. "Maybe not in this life," he murmured, half joking, though something in his chest tightened as he spoke. And then she smiled, soft, knowing, as if she, too, had felt it. Chapter 2: Whispers of the Past. As days turned into weeks, Isabel and Gabriel became inseparable. Their connection was effortless, as if they had known each other forever. They wandered through Florence together, exploring hidden alleyways and centuries-old chapels, sharing whispered secrets beneath the moonlit sky. One evening, while strolling through the Uffizi Gallery, Isabel stopped in front of an old painting. It depicted a noblewoman from the 18th century, her features strikingly similar to Isabel's own. Gabriel stood beside her, his breath catching. "She looks like you," he said softly. Isabel shivered. "She has my eyes." Beneath the painting, a small plaque read, "Lady Isabella Devereux, 1781 to 1803, lost to history. Some say she disappeared in the night, searching for the man she loved." A memory stirred inside Isabel, unformed but undeniable. She turned to Gabriel. "Do you believe in past lives?" He hesitated before answering, his voice quiet. "I never used to." Neither of them spoke after that, but as Gabriel reached for her hand, she didn't pull away. Chapter 3: The Dreams Begin. Isabel's dreams began that night. They weren't like normal dreams, these were vivid, almost real. She saw herself in another time, dressed in fine silks, standing on a balcony under the Parisian moon. A man stood beside her, his face obscured by shadows, but his voice was unmistakable. "No matter what happens," he whispered, his fingers brushing hers, "I will find you again." Isabel woke with a start, her heart hammering. She turned toward Gabriel, who was still fast asleep beside her. She wanted to wake him, to tell him everything, but something stopped her. Deep down, she already knew. Chapter 4: The Letters. A month later, in a small antique shop tucked away in the heart of Florence, they found the letters. They were hidden inside an old chest, written in faded ink. The handwriting was unfamiliar, but the words, "My dearest Isabella, though we are kept apart by fate, my soul belongs to you. I swear I will find you whether in this life or the next." The signature at the bottom sent a chill down Gabriel's spine. Gabriel Laurent, 1799. Neither of them spoke. The weight of the moment was too heavy, too immense. Gabriel turned to Isabel, his voice hoarse. "It was us." She nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "I know." Chapter 5: Love Beyond Time. From that moment on, everything changed. Their love deepened, not just with passion, but with understanding. They were not just two strangers who had met by chance in Florence. They were souls bound by something far greater than time itself. And as Gabriel held Isabel in his arms that night, beneath the endless expanse of stars, he whispered the same words he had spoken to her centuries before. "No matter what happens, I will find you again." She smiled, resting her head against his chest. "And I will wait for you," she whispered back. For love like theirs could never be lost, only found again. In another time, another place, forever.